All right, so we're diving deep today into self-hypnosis,
Mm.
specifically for,
Yeah.
sexual performance enhancement.
Okay, cool.
5 audio tracks here. You sent these over,
Right.
focusing on premature ejaculation
That's right.
and using some pretty interesting techniques.
Yeah.
Like guided meditation,
Yeah.
visualization,
Right.
even like reprogramming your subconscious.
Yeah. It's fascinating how they leverage the mind-body connection, right, to influence something as personal as your sexual response.
Yeah.
I mean,
So are you ready to unlock the power of your mind for
oh, absolutely. Yeah, let's get into it.
Okay, so track 1
Okay.
seems to lay the groundwork by guiding you into this like deep trance.
Right.
They start with focusing on a single point,
Okay.
and then you progressively relax your muscles,
Uh-huh.
starting with your eyelids.
Right.
Have you ever tried that, like that hyper focus?
You know, it's surprisingly effective. When you zero in on a really small detail, your mind, it kind of naturally starts to tune everything else out,
Yeah.
and you enter a more relaxed state.
Right.
It's a bit like meditation in a way.
Yeah.
You're training your attention to stay present.
Right. And they even mention it can be helpful for sleep,
Absolutely.
which makes sense.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Because racing thoughts
Keep you up. Yeah.
keep you up at night.
Exactly. And the audio uses like a calming voice
Uh-huh.
and even music to enhance that whole relaxation response.
Okay.
What they're doing is teaching your mind and your body to just rapidly go into a state of deep relaxation,
Uh-huh.
that's really the key for self-hypnosis to work. It's like creating a blank canvas
Yeah.
before you start painting.
Okay. I like that.
Yeah?
So track 2 introduces this concept called anchoring,
Okay.
and it involves you making a fist
Right.
to create like a physical anchor for the feeling of being in control, especially when it comes to erections.
Right.
Could this backfire, though?
What do you mean?
Like, what if you make a fist during a stressful situation
Uh-huh.
and things get a little too heated?
That's a great question. I think the idea is you're intentionally conditioning your body
Yeah.
to respond a certain way.
Okay.
It's based on classical conditioning, similar to Pavlov's dogs.
Oh, right.
You're pairing a neutral stimulus, in this case your fist,
Okay.
with this desired response, this feeling of control.
So it's like building a mental shortcut.
Precisely.
Okay.
That links a physical sensation
Yeah.
to a specific feeling.
Okay.
And over time, your subconscious mind starts to link those two together, allowing you to access that feeling
Right.
more easily.
Okay.
They even suggest, squeezing your fist twice
Yeah.
to trigger a sense of numbness,
Oh.
which could be really helpful for delaying things.
So it's not just about feeling more in control, but it's also about like managing the intensity of the sensations.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
That brings us to track 3,
Okay.
which dives into hologram targeted body programming.
Right.
That name is a bit out there.
It does, doesn't it?
It does, yeah.
But if you strip away all the fancy terminology,
Uh-huh.
it's essentially a visualization exercise.
Okay.
You're guided to picture this holographic grid
Right.
and then mentally direct it to areas
Uh-huh.
that you want to change or heal,
Okay.
in this case.
For enhancing sexual performance.
Exactly.
Okay. So you're beaming healing energy to your,
It sounds wild, right?
It does, yeah.
But there's actually a growing body of research
Yeah.
on the mind-body connection and this power of visualization.
Right.
Think of the placebo effect,
Yes.
where just believing something will work
Uh-huh.
can actually trigger physical changes.
It's pretty amazing how much our beliefs impact our physical experiences.
Oh, absolutely.
Have you ever noticed, like, when you're convinced you're coming down with something,
Uh-huh.
you actually start feeling worse?
Totally.
It's like your body's responding to those thoughts.
Absolutely. So while the whole hologram grid thing might be metaphorical,
Right.
the intention behind it is to focus your mind's power on specific areas
Okay.
and potentially influence things like blood flow and cell regeneration.
Okay.
Whether it actually works that way, that's still debatable.
Uh-huh.
But the principle of focused intention,
Yeah.
it's used in a lot of healing practices.
Yeah, definitely making me rethink what our minds are capable of. Track 4 shifts gears a bit,
Okay.
focusing on releasing worries
Right.
and reprogramming the past.
Okay.
They guide you to imagine yourself on this tropical island,
Right.
releasing those worries into this cloud that just disappears in the sunlight.
Uh-huh.
Sounds relaxing already.
Oh, yeah. It's about creating this mental space where you can let go of those burdens.
Uh-huh.
Then they guide you deeper.
Okay. Visualizing a crystal ball.
Right.
And it represents those past sexual experiences and negative feelings.
So it's like confronting the ghosts of your sexual past.
Exactly. Head on. And then they have you burn the crystal ball.
Okay.
And that symbolizes releasing those limiting beliefs and emotions.
Wow.
It's a pretty powerful way to acknowledge those past experiences that might be holding you back.
Yeah.
And consciously choose to let them go.
I can see how that would be really cathartic.
For sure.
Reminds me of those rituals where people write down
Yeah.
things they want to leave behind, and then they burn the paper
Yeah, exactly.
as a way of letting go.
It taps into that power of symbolism to create real emotional shifts.
Right, and it makes you think
Yeah.
what past experiences might be impacting us
Well,
in ways we don't even realize.
in ways that we don't realize. Exactly.
Maybe it's time to do some symbolic burning of our own.
Yeah.
Now, track 5. This is the grand finale, right?
Yeah.
Ultimate orgasm control.
Ultimate orgasm control. Sounds pretty ambitious.
It is. It gets into mindfulness and self-awareness
Okay.
during sex. They guide you to associate numbers
Uh-huh.
with different levels of arousal, each
Right.
one linked to a color and sensation.
So you're creating like a mental map
Exact.
of your arousal, learning to recognize and navigate these different levels.
Precisely. They suggest you mentally move through those levels during sex,
Right.
prolonging
Uh-huh.
or intensifying sensations as you like.
Okay.
They even suggest doubling the intensity of the colors
Wow.
to amplify the pleasure.
So it's like having a control panel for your own pleasure.
Exactly.
Like you're modulating the experience.
Yeah, it's a fascinating approach.
It is. But is this something anyone can learn?
That's a great question.
Or does it require, a certain level of, shall we say, natural talent?
Right. That's a great question, and one that we can explore further. But I think the core principle here is mindfulness. Paying close attention to your body's signals and learning to respond in a more conscious way.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
It seems like a lot of these techniques rely on really tuning into those signals your body sends,
Absolutely.
which I think many of us could get better at.
Modern life has us rushing around,
Yeah.
rarely slowing down to actually connect with those physical sensations.
Yeah, for sure. And these audio tracks, they encourage a more mindful approach, right?
Right.
Especially with sex.
Especially with sex,
Yeah.
where it's easy to get lost in the moment.
Right. And it's not just about lasting longer either.
No.
It's maximizing your own pleasure
Exactly.
and feeling more in control of the whole experience.
Feeling more in control.
Yeah.
It makes you wonder how much we miss out on when we're just on autopilot.
Powerful insight.
Yeah, so let's circle back to that anchoring technique.
Okay.
I'm curious about its potential outside the bedroom.
Oh, yeah.
Like, could you use it for performance anxiety
Uh-huh.
or even to boost your confidence in social situations? I was thinking the same thing. Could you walk us through how that might work?
Certainly.
Let's say you have a big presentation coming up
Okay.
and you tend to get nervous in front of crowds.
Right.
You could choose a subtle anchor,
Okay.
like gently pressing your thumb and forefinger together.
All right.
And then you would practice associating that anchor with a feeling of calm and confidence.
So you'd spend some time visualizing yourself, giving that presentation,
Yeah.
feeling relaxed, in control.
Yes. You're essentially training your mind and body to connect that physical sensation to that desired emotional state.
Okay.
And the more you practice, the stronger the connection.
Right. Then when you're in the actual situation,
Okay.
you can discreetly activate that anchor
Exact.
to help bring up those feelings.
Yes. It's like having a secret weapon against anxiety.
I like that. I'm going to try that. So the hologram visualization.
Okay.
I'm still trying to grasp how visualizing something can have a physical impact.
It is fascinating research.
It is.
While the idea of a holographic grid might be metaphorical,
Right.
our minds can influence our bodies in ways we're only beginning to understand.
Okay.
Think about athletes who visualize to improve performance.
Yeah.
They're mentally rehearsing those actions.
Right.
And that mental practice can actually lead to physical improvements.
So their brain is laying down those pathways even before they physically do it.
Precisely. And when you combine visualization with strong emotions,
Okay.
like love, appreciation, gratitude, as these tracks suggest,
Uh-huh.
the impact can be even more powerful.
I've noticed that when I'm feeling stressed or down,
Uh-huh.
my body seems more likely to get sick.
It's a great observation. Research shows that positive emotions can actually boost our immune system,
Wow.
reduce inflammation, even promote cellular repair.
So our bodies are designed to thrive when we feel good.
Exactly. So it's not just about thinking happy thoughts.
Right.
It's about cultivating those positive emotions on a deeper level.
Which brings us back to track 4, with its focus on releasing worries and reprogramming the past.
Right. It's about addressing those emotional patterns that might be holding us back.
I think we all have baggage
We do.
from our past,
We do.
whether it's related to sex or other areas.
Mm-hmm.
But how do you know if something from your past is actually affecting you in the present?
That's a good point. Sometimes it's a recurring pattern in relationships
Uh-huh.
or a feeling of unease or anxiety that you can't quite pinpoint.
Okay.
It could even be physical, like tension or pain in certain areas.
Right.
The key is to pay attention to those subtle signals
Yeah.
and be willing to explore those deeper emotional landscapes.
Like becoming an archaeologist of your own mind,
I like that.
digging for those hidden artifacts.
Yeah. And that process of releasing those old patterns can be so liberating.
So track 5, ultimate orgasm control.
Yes,
It's a pretty bold claim.
it is.
But this idea of using numbers to map your arousal levels
Mm-hmm.
and then learning to navigate them.
Yes.
Is this really something that can be learned?
It's an advanced technique,
Yeah.
but it is rooted in the principles of mindfulness,
Okay.
which is a skill that can be developed.
Right.
It's like learning to play an instrument.
Uh-huh.
At first, it's awkward and challenging,
Right.
but with time and dedication, you become more proficient.
So you're training your attention to be more aware of those shifts in sensation,
Exactly.
allowing you to respond in a more deliberate way.
It's about developing a more intimate relationship with your own body and its responses.
It's making me realize how much we take our bodies for granted.
Uh-huh.
We often go through life on autopilot
Yeah.
without really appreciating all the sensations.
That's beautifully put. And these audio tracks are an invitation to awaken to those sensations, to
Yeah.
become more present in our bodies, more conscious of our experiences.
Now, some people might be skeptical about all this.
Sure.
They might say it's just placebo effect
Uh-huh.
or wishful thinking.
I understand the skepticism, especially when we're talking about something as personal and often taboo as sexual performance.
Right.
But I think it's important to remember that the placebo effect itself
Mm-hmm.
is a testament to the power of the mind.
Yeah.
If our beliefs can trigger physical changes,
Yeah.
that's worth exploring, not dismissing.
We're only scratching the surface of what's possible
I think so.
when we combine the power of our minds with the wisdom of our bodies.
Exactly. And while more research is always needed,
Mm-hmm.
there's a growing body of evidence supporting the efficacy of these techniques.
For improving sexual function and well-being.
Yes.
It's exciting to think that we're moving beyond those quick fix solutions
Yeah, I agree.
and embracing a more holistic approach to sexual health.
Absolutely.
Right.
Now let's talk a little bit about the science behind these techniques.
Okay.
We've talked about classical conditioning with anchoring,
Right.
but it also plays a role in overcoming premature ejaculation.
How so? I thought it was just about pairing stimuli and responses.
It is, but it's also about breaking those associations. Okay.
In premature ejaculation, the body has learned to associate certain sensations
All right.
with a rapid climax.
Huh?
These audio tracks use techniques to help rewire those responses,
Okay.
essentially teaching your body to relax and stay in the moment, delaying that reflex.
So you're creating new neural pathways,
Precisely.
overriding the old ingrained patterns.
And that's where neuroplasticity comes in.
Right.
The brain's ability to change and adapt throughout life.
Mm-hmm.
It's a revolutionary concept that's changing the way we understand learning, healing, and personal transformation.
It's empowering to know that we're not stuck with the brains we were born with.
It is.
We have the power to shape them.
Absolutely. Through our experiences and intentional practices.
And these audio tracks, by combining relaxation, visualization, and positive suggestions,
Yeah.
are essentially leveraging that neuroplasticity
They are?
to rewire those automatic responses.
Precisely.
It's like we're hacking our own nervous systems,
In a way.
optimizing for greater pleasure and control. Now, another principle at play here is mindfulness.
Right.
These tracks repeatedly emphasize paying attention to your body's signals in a non-judgmental way.
Right.
Why is that so important?
I imagine it helps you become more aware of those subtle cues,
Yes.
recognizing when you're getting too aroused
Uh-huh.
and need to dial things back.
Exactly. You become a more astute observer of your own internal landscape.
I like that.
And in doing so, you gain greater control over your responses.
Like becoming the master of your domain,
Exactly.
rather than being a slave to your impulses.
And that mastery extends beyond the sexual.
Oh,
Mindfulness has been shown to reduce stress,
huh.
improve focus,
Right.
even enhance emotional regulation.
So it's not just about better sex.
Yeah,
It's about living a more fulfilling and present life overall.
precisely. It's about cultivating a state of being where you're more attuned to your emotions and your environment.
Right.
And that can have a ripple effect on all areas of your life.
You mentioned these tracks weaving together different elements.
So?
Hypnosis,
Mm.
mindfulness visualization, and even neuro-linguistic programming.
Yes.
Can you explain what that is and how it fits in?
Neuro-linguistic programming, or NLP, explores the connection between language, thought patterns, and behavior.
Okay.
It's based on the idea that our thoughts and language actually create our reality,
Wow.
and by changing those patterns, we can change our experiences.
So instead of just focusing on what's happening in the body,
Right.
NLP is about addressing the underlying beliefs
Uh-huh.
that might be contributing to the problem.
Exactly. It's about identifying those limiting beliefs, reframing them in a more positive light,
Okay.
and then using language and imagery to reinforce those new beliefs.
So rewiring the software of our minds
I like that.
to run more empowering programs.
These audio tracks use NLP techniques like anchoring and visualization to create those shifts in perception and behavior.
It's like we're being given a toolkit to upgrade our mental operating systems.
That's a great way to put it. And one thing that strikes me is the emphasis on personal responsibility.
Yeah.
These tracks are not about quick fixes or surrendering your power.
Right.
They provide the tools and guidance,
Yeah.
but you have to do the work.
Okay.
Engage with the practices and make them your own.
It's like they're saying, here's the map, now go explore.
Exactly. And that journey of self-discovery can be so rewarding.
And not just for sexual performance.
Not just for sexual performance,
Yeah.
but for all areas of life.
It's about recognizing that we have the power to shape our own realities.
Both internal and external.
Yeah, there's like a blueprint for anyone looking to, enhance their sexual experiences.
And what's impressive is that they don't just focus on the physical. They address the psychological and emotional aspects as well.
Right. It's not just techniques. It's about understanding the role of your thoughts and beliefs.
Exactly. Past experiences, too. They really emphasize the importance of addressing anxieties or limiting beliefs that might be contributing to the issue.
So it's like heal the mind to heal the body.
Yeah, that's crucial. We often try to address the symptoms without getting to the root cause.
Now, one thing that stood out to me was the emphasis on visualization.
Right.
Seems like it's a key part of almost every technique.
Visualization is powerful stuff. It allows us to kind of bypass those critical filters of our conscious mind and access the subconscious directly.
So it's like planting seeds of suggestion directly in our imagination.
Precisely. And when we repeatedly visualize those goals, those outcomes, we're actually creating those neural pathways, paving the way for them to manifest in reality.
It's like we're rehearsing for success, programming our minds to believe it's possible.
And that belief is so key. Our minds are incredibly powerful, and they tend to create what we focus on. So if you believe you can achieve something, you're far more likely to actually succeed.
It's that self-fulfilling prophecy thing.
Exactly.
Now, one challenge with visualization is actually maintaining that clear image in your mind. I've tried meditation before, and my mind just wanders everywhere.
Oh, that's totally normal. Our minds are wired to wander, but with practice, we can train ourselves to stay focused.
Okay, so it's like strengthening a muscle. The more we work on visualization, the easier it becomes.
That's a great way to put it. And these audio tracks actually provide a structured framework for practicing that visualization. They guide you.
We've talked a lot about the benefits, but realistically, these techniques might not work for everyone.
Right? Absolutely. Everyone is different. What works for one person might not work for another.
It's about finding what works for you, unlocking your own potential.
Exactly. And these audio tracks offer a variety of techniques. So it's a matter of exploring and finding what resonates with your individual needs.
Now, one question that comes up with self-hypnosis is it ethical?
Yeah.
Are we manipulating our minds?
Right. It's an important question. But I think it's important to remember we're always influencing our minds.
Yep.
Whether we're doing it consciously or not.
Right.
Through our thoughts, beliefs, the information we take in, we're constantly shaping our own reality.
So self-hypnosis is just a more intentional way of doing that.
I think so. It's about using that power for good, for positive change, rather than letting our minds be swayed by those negative influences.
It's like taking back control of the story, Writing our own narrative.
Exactly. And that's really what these audio tracks are all about, empowering us to be the authors of our own lives.
This has been an amazing deep dive. These tracks are really thought-provoking.
They're a unique blend of techniques, and they can be incredibly powerful when used consistently and with real intention.
They offer a new perspective on how much control we actually have
Yeah.
over our bodies and our experiences.
A message of hope and empowerment, really. A reminder that we can achieve anything we set our minds to.
So if you're listening and you're intrigued, I encourage you to approach these techniques with an open mind.
Yes, be curious. And remember, the most important ingredient is your own willingness to believe in yourself, in your ability to make that change.
Great advice. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive, and we'll see you next time as we explore more of this fascinating world of human potential.